outside the numbers and led the points. 16 of Dak's 17 interceptions this year, actually, came on straight dropbacks, including both of them against the 49ers. He completed just 55% of his non-play action attempts on Sunday night. And then this is something that people are starting to pay a reasonable amount of attention to, and I think for good reason. The Dallas Cowboys official Twitter site posted a tweet placing the blame for the loss on Dak Prescott. There is actually a picture of Dak. This is like a screen grab, but if you actually look at the tweet itself, there's actually a forlorn-looking photo of Dak. And as you see, it says Dak Prescott gave away the ball twice in the narrow loss to the 49ers in a matchup the Cowboys had a chance to win if they didn't again generate self-inflicted wounds. The tweet then links to an article on the Cowboys website. So, all right, well, with friends like those, who needs enemies? That is a bizarre twist here that I didn't see coming. Before anything, we got to start with Marcus. When it comes to the Cowboys, I was watching Marcus Spears after the loss on Sunday night, posting videos on Instagram, alone in the dark, looking very, very sad. Marcus, and obviously the Dak conversation has taken center stage.
Yeah.
Take it away, big fella.
I still feel alone, G. That's how I feel. And I know a lot of people are hurting along with me, but I feel alone. Look, man, this was, we talked about this, and this was one of those situations where inconsistency, and think about what we talked about last year and how that season ended with clock management, and we talked about it all this year with the turnovers, and also had some clock management issues. But I felt like everybody talked about Tampa last week, and it was a good win. I was excited about it. I was glad that he got the playoff win. But this was the week, right? Like I was in New York with you guys. This was the week. I picked the 49ers to win this game because of inconsistency of Dak's play, inconsistency of Kellen Moore and how he called plays. You just didn't see a team. And G, I'm going to go all the way back. And you were right for majority of this season. Do you remember I sat here after Dak got hurt and how dejected I was and said it was over? And you had to talk me off a cliff. And I was optimistic after that 4-game streak with Cooper Rush, knowing that Dak would come back and give another level of quarterback play, which he didn't because the turnovers are a thing. I know Dak is better than Cooper Rush at quarterback, but the turnovers are a thing, and it makes you look as normal or as bad as any quarterback in the NFL. But when I looked at this game, G, the thing that I came away with was they didn't have enough. And to add insult to injury, Tony Pollard gets hurt. But they didn't have enough. And that's what I was alluding to when Dak went out. That's why every time a move was made in this league with a player or a star player going to Dallas, I was like, why are y'all not doing anything? I know the OBJ thing came up, and obviously the ACL was still an issue, so that kind of was water under the bridge. But when we got to this game against San Francisco, and we know in the playoffs, and Foxy can speak to this, it's players over plays. And Dallas ran out of players.
Here's what I will say.
And their quarterback wasn't playing at a high level.
I hear you. And in general, but I have to disagree because Dominique Foxworth, and I'm a Dak fan. I am not one of these Dak bashers, but you have to call it like you see it. The Cowboys had enough. They had enough to win that game. Their defense played more than well enough to win. They had enough plays to win that game. Their quarterback didn't play well enough to win that game. That was the difference to me on Sunday.
No, I think that's right. No one can disagree with you. Like the decisions that he made, he should have had more interceptions than he had, frankly. You can't argue that he played well enough to win the game and that the people around him failed. That's not an argument you can make. I think what Marcus might be pushing back against, and I'm certainly ready to push back against, is like the ridiculously violent pendulum shift to like, can they ever win a Super Bowl with Dak Prescott?
Can they?
Of course they can.
Okay.
Like he played poorly in this situation, and yes, given the way that he plays, I think a few more playmakers on offense would be nice. It would take pressure off of him. When you're in a situation where you're playing against a team that's better than you, which the 49ers, we all agree, are more talented. You're an underdog. You're going across the country. You can't play as poorly as they did. Well, not as far as we would go to California, but they're on the road, and you can't play as poorly as he did. But part of that is finding a way to take some of the pressure off of him because he's not going to be Patrick
And
Mahomes.
Mike T, what about this? What are they posting on the Twitter? What is that?
Greedy, that's unacceptable. If I was the GM of that team, I would have walked down there, I would have deleted it myself, and I would have fired the person that put up that tweet.
Whoa.
That is unacceptable. Your organization should be a place of comfort and support for your players. Look, you got to cut them. You do that behind closed doors. You want to criticize them, you do it behind closed doors. That sends a horrible message to your locker room. And I'll tell you the other thing, as a free agent, I would really have second thoughts about going to a place that you're going to air out your let the rest of the world bash your team. You can't do that. That is not what a first-class organization. You don't see Baltimore doing that. You don't see Philadelphia doing that. They've had bumps in the road, but you handle it behind closed doors. And somebody higher up, by now, they know about that. It's one thing to say Sunday night, I'll give them a free pass, but Tuesday morning, it's 8:07 Green. We're still talking about that. Unacceptable.
It's still there. I mean, what we're showing you there is actually just a picture of it on Twitter. So it is still there. Now, here's why this is important. Well, there are any number of reasons why it's important, but the biggest one is this. Dan Graziano, if you look at the contract that Dak Prescott has, where exactly are we as far as defining the future of the quarterback position for the Cowboys?
They're arriving at the point of having to make a decision. He has 2 years left on the contract. Only one of those years is guaranteed. That's this coming year, $31 million. So they're at a point now, and again, the cap number for this year is almost $50 million. Whatever they do, they probably have to make some sort of adjustment that gets that down for this year. They can do that. But the question they have to ask themselves is, do we want to extend him again? And that's something, they don't have to do it now, but if they don't do it this offseason, they're definitely going to confront it next offseason. And depending on the way in which they answer that question, and maybe they don't have a definitive answer to it just yet, they have to start, this is the time when they have to start thinking about the possibility that he's not there long term and maybe look at someone early in the draft. So those are the decisions that confront the Cowboys right now with regard to Dak Prescott. Look, they could say, he's our guy, we'll extend him right now with 2 years left on the deal, no questions asked. But remember the last time?
Yeah, they did do that.
It wasn't that cut and dried.
That's the point. Marcus, that's the point I'm trying to get to here is, here's the bottom line. The last time the Cowboys had a decision to make about Dak Prescott, they kicked the can all the way to the very last moment they possibly could. Should they be making a decision right now? Dak's our guy. Let's get this done. Let's learn from the mistakes they're making in Baltimore and everywhere else and not have all of that going on with our franchise quarterback. He's our guy for the next decade. No ifs, ands, or buts.
No, G, they shouldn't, because you always looking for an upgrade. Like, look, as much as Foxy and I talk about Dak, and we respect Dak as a player, you look for an upgrade in football. That's just what it is. There are particular guys that probably won't come available, that if they were to come available, you would probably go that direction. Listen, Jared Goff was the first overall pick in the NFL, went to a Super Bowl, and the Rams couldn't wait to trade him for Matthew Stafford, who they thought was a significant upgrade, which resulted in a Super Bowl. It's not that Dak can't play in this league. It's not that he can't play at a high level. You have to make a determination of what you're going to need around him. And when I say not enough, what I mean is when Dak Prescott has been asked in these moments, okay, to deliver, he hasn't been able to. But also, we don't think that Dak Prescott is a step under Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo has been to a Super Bowl. That is the comparison that I'm making. I know because he's the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. He started off with a lot of early success, which those teams were stacked. We look at this game, see, when Tony Pollard went out the game, CeeDee Lamb had 10 catches, I think, for 100-plus yards. The next guy had like 20 yards receiving. That's not the formula for Dak Prescott. We've reached that breaking point, that he is not going to be the word that I think Mike T. used, a force multiplier. He will sometimes. That's why my key word has been inconsistency about him and Kellen Moore.
Should they extend the contract right now?
Absolutely, because it's only going to get more expensive. And Swagu's making a great point about that Ram situation, but I would say that's more the exception, not the rule. It's going to be really hard to get a quarterback better than Dak Prescott. I'm much more concerned about the coaching because of his 17 interceptions. 11 came with the lead or when they were tied, and I put that more on the coaches than on him. But if we were running a team, Greeny, I'd be hard-pressed to get a better quarterback than Dak, and the price is only going to get more expensive with Jalen Hurts and everybody else getting an extension.
Leadership, character. Go ahead, Marcus.
You're forgetting something, Mike T, and everything you just said is logical. Who's the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, Mike T?
Some guy that likes to tweet, apparently.
So if Aaron Rodgers became available, do you think he would stick with Dak Prescott?
Yeah, I'm hard-pressed to think that the Packers would ever trade Aaron Rodgers to the
That ain't
Dallas
what I'm
Cowboys.
asking you. That's not what I'm asking you. That's not what I'm asking you. We've been hard-pressed and we've seen a lot of things change, Mike T. You know I love you. But I'm telling you, with Jerry Jones is at that point now, mortality, and it's iffy to talk about it, but we see his reaction to the loss in this game. And there are blueprints around this league about what you can do with particular quarterbacks. We are going to interject that into this conversation. Why? If the right quarterback becomes available and Jerry Jones is sitting there talking about he's sick about what just transpired, for as much respect we have as Dak Prescott as